I had a friend from Nigeria. I had 2 friends from Nigeria at university.
Did you really?
And one of them was called Ebun.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Yep.
And the other one was called David.
Was he awesome?
He's so awesome.
Oh, okay.
He's now a singer on the Italian version of. He went on the Italian version of, like, Italy's Next Top Singer or like the X Factor.
Whatever. A lot of franchises.
No.
So for you, 100% of people from Nigeria are awesome.
So far, so good.
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone.
Not a bad bunch among them.
3, 2, 1.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Miles.
And this is Chris, the screenplay fish, aka today, Coral Grimes.
Oh, yeah.
Named by Ebon Latu, who I'm sure I have butchered your name, but we're not here to butcher names or fish. We are here because of a certain butcher, though, because we have played God of War. And let me tell you, this is probably going to be my game of the year. Unless something terrible happens, and by terrible I mean a much better game comes out. This game, Miles, is incredible.
You don't need to tell me, Nick. I know, and I fucking agree. This shit's good.
It is quite incredible the way that they have changed how this game works. So, I mean, you didn't play the other God of War.
Very limited experience.
Yeah, just a bit
very
with 3
limited.
or something.
I played the demo of 3.
Yeah, so I
I
played the other ones, and they're fine. At the time, they were like fun, over the top, gory. It was kind of like, I guess it's kind of like Call of Duty, where you just go, I'm gonna go in, kind of switch my brain off for this one, and just like marvel at the set pieces. Is kind of like what that was. And then that kind of game has gone out of vogue in terms of the the locked off camera and the super bland characterization of Kratos and that sort of thing. And so when people announced, Sony announced that, there's this new God of War coming and this is the way we've changed it up, I was like, I think that this feels like a Me Too. This feels like, we've seen The Last of Us. We've seen games where they try to tell an interesting story and be weighty and meaningful, and we're going to try and do it too with the character who cannot possibly do this.
Yeah, I understand from my time with you that his entire story is a revenge arc. His family were murdered in front of him, and that's why he goes on this like rage-fueled vengeance quest on the gods of Olympus. But this is but they've done something here with a character that they've turned water into wine.
And I think the way that they've done it, and it's such a simple change, that my problem with Kratos was always that he never really fought for anything, right? Like
himself.
Yeah, he had this revenge arc, and it's really sad that he killed his family. Like, that's really sad. And it's really sad that you were kind of cursed to be covered in the ashes of your dead family. But the revenge stuff where he's constantly fighting the gods there's this feeling of inevitability that you're going to win. And there's no stakes behind what he's doing, because the only person who is you're rooting for really is him. He has nothing in the world to care for. So even if he fails, it's like, well, you don't really like being alive anyway. This game, the trick that they've done, and you all know this, is that they've given him a son. They've given him something to fight for, not just something to fight against. And it's the kid relationship is incredible.
It's really, really well executed. It doesn't feel contrived. They've done it in a really solid way. I mean, even the little moments where, Kratos it's shit dad simulator 2018.
It really
He's a
is.
really awful father. And there's a few moments, in particular with Kratos, when he's like, the kid will say something or do something. We're not going to spoil anything. But like, he's on the verge of almost being emotionally vulnerable for the child.
Yep.
And there's some great dialogue exchanges between the two of them. And admittedly, the kid is driving most of it, but like there's one scene where the little boy says and does something quite great, and Kratos goes, and he just can't.
Pulls his hand
and
back.
He pulls his
the
hand
kid
back.
never sees that Kratos is about to touch his back.
About to give him the daddy love. It's just like, whoa, man. And the dialogue doesn't even need to be there because the facial the animation is incredible.
Yeah.
The voice acting, everything so far is ridiculous. This game is beautiful, plays really well. It's the shit. This is one of the best games I've ever played, ever.
And as the game continues, you learn more about, even though you're playing as Kratos, it's really the story of the boy is the story that sort of rises up and takes center stage in terms of his relationship with his mum who died, and that's why you're carrying her ashes to the top of the mountain.
Olympus.
Olympus. And the mum and the boy had a really close relationship, and Kratos was always off fighting or hunting and not at home. And now he needs to be home because the mum is gone. So, yeah, he's a bad dad, but he's also like a distant father who he's not abusive. He just doesn't know how to be close to his son. And very top level, his story is about trying to force the boy to become a man, like quote unquote a man.
He's really forcing him because, circumstances change. It goes from like...
Things get violent.
Things get violent real quick, and he's like, at first the missions are like, you're not ready, boy. And then it's like, we really have to go, you better be ready soon. It gets out of control quite quickly.
It's incredible. It's so not what I was expecting from a God of War game.
That's the funniest thing about this. This is a God of War game, and what have we not talked? We've not talked about quick time events or scenes of you pulling out people's spines and shit and smearing the blood all over your peoples. And all we've talked about is the story, and the story is that compelling. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay is amazing as well.
And we should talk about the gameplay.
Yeah, we can just dabble in the gameplay in a very action-oriented game.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because the other thing about this is so good to play. It's
so slick.
Every game has a Dark Souls vibe at the moment, but this has a Dark Souls vibe where the combat is not about chaining together, even though it is a little bit, but it's not like older God of War where it's about chaining together these like multi-hit combos. A lot of it is about parrying with the shield. It's about crowd control as well. You have the axe that you can throw. The axe, and then you return it to yourself like Thor. The axe feels so good to throw. Feels so good to combat. You can freeze people with it to like manage them while you're battling someone else. There's an enormous upgrade tree there that lets you level up different abilities and find new ways to attack and defend and all this sort of stuff. The way that it all works together, it flows. I think Batman is a great example.
It flows really well.
It doesn't have that snappiness of Batman where it was...
Which felt scripted. It didn't feel like at times you were doing the fighting. It felt like, well, this is just show. I know I'm pressing the buttons, but this is almost... The game is playing itself to be the most sort of cinematic experience it possibly can be, whereas God of War, you fit into this world and your engagements with the enemies are really fluid and feel very natural.
The fighting system feels so brutal. It is so kinetic the way that you are attacking these people. You feel really in control of the way that these fights are going. It doesn't feel like you're just like even early on. Like, do you ever feel like you're button mashing?
No, absolutely not. And if I did button mash, I felt like I was punished for it. And the boy helps in all of this. Like, he's something we haven't talked about in terms of the gameplay because he shoots little arrows. He takes enemies' attention away from you now and then. And every so often you'll see a big dude like holding your boy by the head, and all of a sudden you go, "Put down my boy!" And it's great.
Every time the boy is in trouble, every time he gets in a situation where someone is threatening him or someone has him, Kratos becomes just fueled by rage, and it creates these beautiful story moments. But yeah, Atreus is really helpful in a fight. There's a whole sort of I can't remember what they call it in the game, but it's sort of like a stun meter that you can build up on enemies, and when it hits its threshold, then you can do a finishing move on them. Because
usually pulling the face apart.
yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
And so his arrows help with that sort of thing, and yeah, he draws aggro. He's actually really useful in combat because you never need to direct him.
It's all fluid. It's all fun.
It works really well.
You're very vulnerable. Both of you are very vulnerable all the time.
That's
very vulnerable in here and out here.
That's the other thing that we've moved the camera from this out perspective, and by bringing it down, it's made you like all video games, right? Like, you're unaware of the surroundings behind you. That makes you very vulnerable to things coming behind. The enemies in this game are pretty smart. At the higher difficulties, they ratchet up the AI in terms of like their attack patterns and things, which I think is really effective. But you get flanked a lot. Yeah. I found that most of the time I was operating this game less than 1/3 health in most fights. Yeah. Like, I'm constantly juggling the idea of like, if I take another hit here, I'm down, but you need to be aggressive in order to get through this. It is such a good game. It is just a joy to play. It feels so good. It looks incredible, and the one takeness. Yeah. The one continuous shot, literally the start menu, you hit start game and it turns into the first shot of the game, and that continues until the credits.
Well, it's also a cameraman. Every time the camera moves away from Kratos, he kind of runs and juggles it.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, when it moves quickly, it bounces.
With a fly on the wall in this man's life with his son.
Yeah, you're so right. The way that the camera moves there, it is so effective in terms of showing that this is sophisticated storytelling, because it is very difficult to tell a story when you can't cut around to either create tension or alleviate slow moments, that sort of thing. Like, there is no... you have to commit to making this entire story interesting. The tension building is really organic, but that is really difficult to do when you can't edit and choose moments and come close up on someone's face and then over here and like make this fast and then make this slow. Like, the pacing has to be done in a way where it's this one shot, and I think that a lot of people won't even notice that because it's so well done.
So well done.
You will not really, like, you will go, oh, this is just like how stories are told. But it is so hard to do that well. So, before we finish this up, you guys had a couple of quick questions about God of War. These are your screensays. First one came in from the Top Hat Gamer, who says, is Kratos slightly more likable than he was when he literally destroyed the world that one time and continued blaming everyone else instead?
Unquestionably, yes.
Yes, he really is. Like, you feel empathy and sympathy for him, and I think that goes a long way to creating a character that is not because of something he did in his past, because of all the things that are happening right now. Yeah, he is a very, very likable character, and the son goes a long way to helping that, because the son likes him, you like the son, so therefore there's sort of like synergy there. And then Re the Bloody 17 said, do I need to know anything about the previous God of War game in order to play it?
I know diddly squat, and I've been given all the pieces I need to work out what the fuck is going on in this game. So no, you don't need to know anything. I mean, the fact that he's had orgies and shit, and his family, it doesn't matter. He's got a new family.
Yeah, he doesn't tell his son about any of the orgies that he had. Yeah, it's very, very standalone. Knowledge of the previous games helps just in terms of the character, really, but there's more than enough character.
Oh, absolutely.
In the first, literally in the first 5 minutes, you go, I know everything I need to know about this person, and so more, if you've played the last games, you'll just marvel at the progression that we've actually seen here. So, I think that's all I had to say about this game. I think it's spectacular.
I would like to be playing it right now. And on that note, good night.
What was that ending?
I don't know.
You had the ending when you were like, I think we could be playing it right now, and then you turned into like Walter Cronkite.
We can cut it, and I'm gonna go play now.
We're not gonna cut it. What?
If you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and do that as quickly and as friendly as you can, because you've got God of War to be playing!
Yes, you do, but when you're done with that, there's a video here, and a video here, and there's a bunch of other videos down here. I mean, the whole website is basically dedicated to videos. Watch ours, and then watch someone else's. I would suggest, Brian Kibler.